Hi, my name is Luis Fernando Castillo, and today for my presentation, I'm just gonna start with one simple question. Why do people like horror movies so much? Well, for many, it might sound like something pointless. Why would someone want to feel afraid voluntarily? Well, all of this has an explanation, and it is just what we're going to talk about today. For some people, scary and horror movies exert an hypnotic fascination, and there is nothing they like more than to plunge into a world of terror. Others, on the other hand, aware that these films have a deep emotional impact, choose to binge them because their sensitivity triggers their natural fears. But why do so many of us like a good scare so much? Well, for starting, horror cinema was born together with cinema itself. The first film considered horror was The Devil's Mansion, directed and devised by Georges Méliès, premiered on December 24 of 1896 in Paris. This gave way to all horror movies. During this era of primitive cinema, France positioned itself as the great antecedent filmmaker of this genre. In the 1920s, the United States developed a horror film that would have its explosion until the 30s, of which we could highlight Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from the 20s, by John S. Robertson, based on the novel by Robert Louis, which is considered as a classic and a founder of the monster movies. And with the advance of the years, the classic of horror movies arrived, for example, The Exorcist, that film about possessions and exorcisms directed by William Friedkin is already an icon of popular culture. The Shining, Alien, or the famous slasher films, where the main plot is about a psycho killer on the prowl for new victims. Which movies like Friday the 13th, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Halloween were crowned as indispensable references of this genre, and personally my favorite type of horror films. So here the question is, why are we drawn to and entertained by these movies when our natural tendency is to pursue the pleasure principle earnestly and avoid uncomfortable and unpleasant situations and sensations? Well, it seems that for horror to be an attractive genre, filmmakers know that they must mix three components: tension, and with this providing a sense of suspense or mystery; relevance, to create a personal or cultural connection with the audience; and irrealism, having an element that separates the viewer from what he's seeing and from reality. In fact, we are frightened by stimulus that we perceive as threatening. Three possible reactions are activated in our body: fight, run away, or paralysis. But what we do when we are watching horror movies is that our brain quickly evaluates the situation and concludes sleeper, blanket, popcorns, pajamas, comfortably lying on my sofa it's equal to free of danger. We allow ourselves the luxury of looking for sensations of fear and controlled suspense. Clark Macaulay, author of the book When Violence on the Screen is Not Attractive, explains that the fact that we know that what we see are only movies creates a psychological distance between us and the violence observed, which gives us a pleasant feeling of control. And it is precisely this understanding that what we are seeing is not real that help us to display an emotional distance that allow us to safely immerse ourselves in what we are seeing. And it is precisely being under that feeling of being in control that will explain, according to Dr. Goldstein, that there are people who actively seek this sensation because they themselves have the ability to choose the degree of attention they pay, a lot or a little, and just like that, they can control the effect it has on them emotionally. Nowadays, the horror genre has done well. It has had its ups and downs, but maintaining itself. with blockbusters such as the remake of the classic movie It, Paranormal Activity, or Hereditary, which are known today as great exponents of modern horror movies. These movies are a whole world. For some it's fun, for others they are a pure moment of tension, and for others like me, a hobby that I'm very proud of, taking into account all the more specialized details that we mentioned above. So, I have nothing else to say that horror movies are a whole world of interesting stories, and even more interesting the reactions they cause in the human being. So, for lovers of the genre, it only remains to continue seeing what we like it. And for those who have not yet given the opportunity or do not feel safe, I can only say one thing. Do you dare? Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I see you in the next presentation. Goodbye.